All right. So enthused to be able to get to come together, hear the praise and worship, hear God's people lifting their voices up to Him, knowing that even in doing that, they're lifting up their hearts to Him, and they're looking for Him to intercede in things they're dealing with, the parts of life that are the ones that beat us down and slow us down. And, the one I'm seeing now more than anything else is age and inability to do what I used to do. But, I want my heart to still be young, and for that spirit just to live within me, so I have that life. And we're going to look at a little bit of that today. We're going to see that life. Again, we're going to go back into a little bit of what we taught last week, because we talked about Yeshua being that life of men. And I want us to, we're going to pick up where Daniel finished reading just a few seconds ago. If I can get it all to work. Hey. All right. I don't know where my slides are. Y'all good without slides today? All right. All right. We're going to keep going. Daniel had read, we'll drop back to what Daniel just finished for us. The children of Israel saw the face of Moshe, that the skin of his face glistened. So Moshe had to put a veil on his face. When he came out, he would put the veil on. When he went in to see the Father, he would take the veil off. That skin, his skin just glistened, it shined. And there I am looking for my notes or my slides. But we're to look at this, we're right after the point to where in the book of Exodus that they have just gone through the golden calf incident. They put in some gold in the fire and it came out as a calf. Pretty nice little molding instrument that fire was, right? We see the intercession of the Father when he came, of Moshe, when he stood between the people and Yah, and he said, hey, he brought up the Levites. The Levites stood with him. They went out. They killed so many people, and then they came back. But Yah was able to give and show mercy by allowing Moshe to bring a second set of tablets. He called Moshe back up, and he was, at that point, he was that intercessor for them. A little bit of a picture, a little bit of a typecast looking at Yeshua. He had to be lifted up to become our intercessor. And you can consider lifting up as the cross, or now we don't necessarily carry a large cross around with Yeshua hanging or sitting on the cross. What do we carry? How do we lift up Yeshua now? By living our lives. So it's an example of what we learn, not from self-help books, not from watching 1,000 podcasts a week. How do we learn it? We read last week that Yeshua said what he learned, what he did. We're going to read that again. He learned from where? His Father. So how far back do we trace Yah in teaching us all of this? Right back to the beginning. Right back to the beginning. Next week, we may even go back and look at how the failure that even started in the garden, how much that really affects us now. Because there's that name associated. If I say Adam and Eve to you, you may think the first people, God formed them. God expected them, thank you. God expected them to do a certain thing within their lives, and there was a failure. But does that failure still last today? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. All of this that we see, that we've heard, that we've witnessed, all the things that are there to remind us of the darkness that lives within us, as we talked about last week, should be overcome by the light. And it's that light that should project from us. Now, I don't mean like an actual beam. Be pretty cool if it did, right? What we're talking about is your actions, my reactions, my thought process. How do I process the situation that just happened? Somebody says something angry to me, let me tell you, I'm quick. Boom. I've got the words faster than I need to have the words that are usually cutting. I draw the sword. Me and Peter, we must have been brothers. I'll draw that sword quick and I'll try to extract blood. It's just who I am. But who I need to be, well then, usually I hear that voice after the anger comes. I don't let the light shine. Instead, sometimes I'll let the darkness come out. But I need to allow that light to overcome the dark. And metaphorically, we're going to be looking at this in this incident. Thank you for getting that up. This incident with Moshe. So we've already, you probably need to click on the screen for me so I can take over. All right, thank you. Yes, sir. Could I get a microphone? We don't have a Caleb today, do we? Just a second, Eric has a comment. So we've got it coming to you. Now let's hear it, brother.
You talked about one way we reflect is in our reactions and actions, and after 8 years at the hospital, I know I've got mapped out where the people are that when you say anything about Jesus or God, their face begins to beam. These are
Amen.
the people who are praying and worshiping on their way to work,
Amen.
who are asking God before they walk in the door, Lord, show me somebody I can witness to today. So when I need encouragement, I can just make the rounds, and I mean, I just have to let one word out of my mouth, and they're ready to have church. You know, and so these people are reflecting God's glory. It's so awesome.
Amen. And isn't that amazing that your actions are going to trigger someone either positively or negatively? And so for you need uplifting during the day. You don't go to those you know that are going to stone you, beat you, drag out the clubs. You're going to go to those that are going to love you, lift you up, and speak well to you. And how do you, and like you said, it beams from them. You can tell their face lights up, their countenance changes, and they just want to talk about it. I had a really good moment this week, just myself and one electrician working in a 7,000 square foot building together, young guy, and we had church for about an hour. And he was like, oh man, I got work to do for tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, you got to get back to work. But, you know, we have to accomplish what we're given to accomplish at that moment. So I was gracious to him. I let him work late to make up for the hour we lost, and all was well. But looking at this, at Moshe, his face shining. His face shining. We're not talking about a sunburn. We're talking about a reflection. And I had tried, in my youth, had tried to reason out that maybe it was just like having a sunburn. But let me tell you, they walked in the desert and the wilderness. They knew what a sunburn looked like. So this was more of an outward reflection. The Hebrew word, we're going to skip those two. The Hebrew word for this is karan, rays emitting. Radiance, it was that radius that came after he spoke face to face with Yah. Man, let me tell you, I've seen people, just like Eric said, when you get to talk to them about the Father, or you see them go through a battle and they've come out victorious and they're just a changed countenance. Their look is different. Their actions are different. Their speech is different. And that's how we should be seen in our lives as we walk. It talks about the people were afraid. He placed a veil over his face. This also says, and this doesn't apply here, to display or grow horns, to be horned. No, So, yes, sir. It does apply. Yes. It. Yeah. There's artwork statues that show the horns on Moses' head due to the latter part of this explanation in Strong's. If right, not a physical callus or whatever builds those horns up. Yeah, so it's interesting. How many people have actually delved? I know a lot of people don't like Strong's, but who actually goes there to look to follow the chain of the words? It's really interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people poo-poo it, but I lean on it to look and see and have more understanding. We're going to go forward to. Boy, I almost got off track there. I'm sorry. But what we're looking at, Moshe has come down from the mountain. His face is shining. He's brought a second set of tablets because the first set were destroyed. And now this time, listen, this time his face was shining. Why not before? Why not the first time he came down? Is there a little more closeness there? Is there a little more, he did stand in the middle and ask for mercy for the people. He did seek forgiveness for the people. And now, I don't have the exact answer on that. I studied on that for 2 weeks, and I don't know why the difference. I read some commentary, but I don't understand the complete difference in that. Maybe we can talk about it, Oneg, if people have some good input. Yes, ma'am. It could be that he spent the 40 days and had that time up there with him. I wondered if he didn't shine out more because now that covenant's been restored. That covenant's been restored, and that is living within him, and he's able to project that glory. The tablets that were broken destroyed all. But these second tablets that were given, they were given not only as instruction, but they were given in mercy. Now there's an element of mercy in there because although Moshe had to do the work, Yah allowed it and allowed his people to be covered by that amount of mercy. Moshe was radiant because he received the glory. He was reflecting this glory, and maybe this renewal of that covenant within him allowed him just to be a reflection of the Father even more. Now he didn't. Yes, ma'am. Mercy and grace. Yes. Amen. Yeah, mercy and grace, the Father allowed that to happen. Prove to the people. Yes. Right, so that's right. So it was, and that's where we were going. It's a physical display that he had been in front of the Father. Physical display. He didn't have to speak it. It scared the people. It scared the people. So we're looking at that. He didn't produce the light, but he bore it. And how does this tie back a little bit to Tetzaveh that we just did last week? Speaking of the menorah, right? The menorah did not create the oil or produce the light. The oil / spirit is what produced the light, but the menorah bore that light. It was a golden vessel to allow that light to shine from it, and it only burned what was brought to it. How was the oil brought to it? The people cultivated, crushed the olives, made the oil. So they had to work to do that. Okay. Oh, okay. Horned imagery with the menorah. That's good. That would be good to try to tie that in. Now, where else do we see this? We'd be remiss if we forgot about Yeshua at this time. In Mark 9, he carries Peter, Jacob, and John up onto a high mountain, and he was transfigured before them. It says in Mark 9:3, his clothes became radiant and brilliantly white. And I like this description, whiter than any launderer on earth could bleach them, or any fuller soap. There's a couple other different translations. Again, this is Tree of Life version that I typically use. But we see that Yeshua was transfigured in front of them. Let's carry on down. It says Elijah and Moses appeared with him, and they were talking with Yeshua. Wouldn't you have liked to have been a fly on the wall to have heard that? Could you have stood in that presence, though? That's the question. And Peter responded to Yeshua as any man would, and said, it's good for us that we were here. This is great that we saw this. Allow us to make 3 sukkot, or 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Elijah. And it says that he didn't know what to say because they were terrified. It goes on, it says the cloud came down, and the point I want to get to on this says the cloud came down overshadowing them, and out of the cloud came a voice, this is my son whom I love. Listen to them or listen to him? Listen to him. Why? He's the culmination of all. Let's see. When his transfiguration came, he became brilliant light. Moshe and Elijah appeared. The disciples were afraid. The cloud overshadows. The Father said, listen to him. This is my son. Listen to him. We'd already heard that he was well pleased with him, right? So we knew that part. And now we see that we should listen to him. Not a newfangled glory, not a newfangled teaching, not a new, easier method of getting to the Father, because there was only one. And we see that with Moshe on Mount Sinai, that glory descended, came down upon the mountain. And it scared the people even then, right? And Moshe reflected that glory when he came back down to the people, and he was required to wear a veil so the people could look upon him when he wasn't speaking and teaching. But on this mountain with Yeshua, that glory emanates from the Son. There was no veil, there was no covering. And that voice confirmed the authority of Yeshua. Yeshua radiated that glory, that presence. And it was given to him as authority. Authority to do what? To change the word? Replace the Torah? No, instead, John 1, he reminded us. John 1 reminds us, in him was life, and the life was the light of men. That light that he displayed is the light of all men. All those who choose, all those who will do. The light shines in the darkness. I love John 1 and 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overpowered it. Last week I added in, will not overpower it and cannot overpower it. It'll never happen. It may seem dim at times, and let me tell you, the world is a lot louder than us believers are. It's just fact. They'll grab hold of something that's immoral or something that's horrible, and they will make it loud as they can. somehow we got that meek and timid part. We don't always shout out the goodness of the Father. And we need to work towards that, because as it tells us, in him was the life, and the life was the light of men. The prophet Jeremiah, speaking about that power that dwelled in him, he said it's like his bones were on fire. And all he could do, even if he didn't want to talk about Yah, he had to talk about him. If he wanted to be mad at Yah and not speak, he still had to speak, because it was a fire inside of him. This light that emanated from Yeshua is the life, the very life that should be dwelling within us today. That divine presence that should be part of us. Well, are we able to be the vessel for that? Absolutely. Might we have some fissures and some cracks and some maybe broken in places? Absolutely, but the Father can fix that. The Father can cause his presence to dwell. Unfortunately, we're the ones who cause it not to dwell at times. I'm the one who causes it not to dwell with me sometimes. I won't put y'all in with my problematic behavior. Thank you, Don. Especially not Don. So we're the ones who bring the darkness in and cover the light sometimes. And we have to allow that light to be more a part of us so that it shines. This revealed the covenant. This revealed the holiness. Although it had to be veiled in Moshe, we don't want to cover it with Yeshua. We want to share that. And that's looking at that glory that was shining, reflecting from Moshe, shining from Yeshua. That same glory now stood before the apostles, those 3 disciples, embodied in Yeshua, dwelling within Yeshua. He was the very presence of it. He wasn't here to abolish Torah. He wasn't here to even eclipse Moshe. Moshe had his place. And he was definitely not replacing the instructions given from Yah through Moshe at all. Instead, he was embodying all of that. He fulfilled, he embodied, and he gave that authoritative interpretation to us that we could understand. Did he give us words? Absolutely. Did he give us action to follow? What did Paul say? Follow me as I follow Yeshua, or mimic me as I mimic Yeshua. If you want to be a good TV wrestler, are you going to watch a cook on TV and try to go into a wrestling ring with the knowledge of a cook? Are you going to watch a kook and watch a TV wrestler and then get into a TV wrestling ring? What are you studying? What are you seeking? I push against a lot of the podcasts and a lot of the people out there, because I believe you get so much from other men and their thoughts and their beliefs and their ideas that could be a little bit askew. Sounds just close enough. What does it say? It could deceive the very elect. And you have to be careful. If you're listening, you have to be sure it is absolutely on point with Torah. We have nothing else to base what we hear on except Torah. That light of the Messiah, because he embodied the Torah. That was the glory, the presence of everything that was a part of him that shined out. Is it scary? Absolutely. Absolutely. That fear should be there. It should be a healthy fear, because what the disciples saw, they saw Yeshua standing there. They saw Moshe standing there, who gave the Torah to the people from Yah. They saw Elijah standing there representing the prophets and the one who would call out and pronounced the coming, right? The one who spoke of Yeshua coming. The one who taught the words of the Father. So he was in a line, and they testified of that light before it came and while it was there. Now we have that fear that I was talking about, that healthy dab of fear. When the glory came down on the mountain at Sinai, scared the people that were around. They backed up and they were like, no, we're not going to do that. Moshe, you go talk to him and come back and you talk to us in an even-keeled, slightly better voice than the rumblings and the thunder and the pealings and the lightning and the earth shaking. We want to hear it the, come on, Christian easy way. We want it to be spoon-fed. We want it to be rich, sweet milk, and we don't want to have to work for it. Sound like today? Applesauce, not apples, so we don't strain at the peel. But this fear that is good to have, respect, awe, that word breaks down to awe, to be in amazement at what the Father does. Now, do you think the apostles were thinking, okay, we're going to die because we're seeing this light? Or maybe it was fear that they didn't understand. They didn't have that understanding of what was happening. But all they knew they wanted to do was build a monument to attest to what was going on. Standard practice, you're right. And they were, in part, they were led by Yah to do that. He said, when you cross over the Jordan, I want you to stack 12 stones so that when your sons come back by, you can retell the story so they'll know. It'll be a standing monument for that. So is it a good thing? Absolutely. What would we have done to it by now? We would have built 9 more around it, and people would have been bowing down and worshiping at the sukkah instead of that dwelling of the presence of the Father, which is Yeshua. So this knowledge, this fear, it says that it's the beginning of wisdom. And some people will stop there when quoting this. I get that a lot. But they forget that it says, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. You can have all the book wisdom you can read, you can look in, but if you're not seeking the Father to know what His Word actually says, then it's all become veiled to you. It's hidden from you. You've got to be able to dive in and know where to look and what our source is. Peter wanted to build that monument. He wanted to preserve that moment, create equal dwellings, one for each. He didn't say a bigger one for Yeshua and 2 smaller ones for Elijah and Moshe, but he wanted to do it equal. And Yah puts a stop to that only in saying that this is my son, listen to him. Listen to him. Is that because he had a new order of religion to bring to him? No. He was going to fulfill what came through Moses and what came through Elijah. Nothing new. He didn't say, study Moshe, understand Elijah, and then add in what Yeshua's going to say. He said, listen to him, because he embodied all of that. He embodied everything that the Torah brings to us. And that was radiated from him. I'm going to skip ahead on some stuff. If the Torah allows us to become that individual who emits the presence, then that's the road we should travel, right? Because that's the road that's going to allow us to be what? A Christian, saved, a believer, or the one who will deliver the word to others, a witness. Is for us to carry the word. He told his people, you'll be kings and priests, right? Kings and priests. You'll carry the word to the nations. You'll carry the word. Of course, we can't say that without getting in a verbal fight, but it's not only to the people, but it's to the nations. And we have to understand that going into that obedience part of it, that's exactly what Yeshua did. Although Moshe modeled that covenant obedience, because he went back down a second time, brought the tablets, Messiah came out and he modeled that obedience to the Torah, that fullness. He heard his father, he did what his father said, and he showed the fullness of that. And that's why Yah said, listen to him. In John 14, let's hear his words from that. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you come to know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. A little bit of reflection time there for them. When he was asked, where are you going? We can't go there. We don't know what you're doing. We don't understand. And now he's telling them, I am the way. I am the truth. I am the life. And he even goes further to clarify his obedience to the word when he says, I tell of what I have seen with the Father. So also you do what you heard from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Paul. The New Testament? No, from the Father. He's saying, I am the very word that came from my Father. I have given that back to you. If you've seen the Father, if you've seen the glory of me, you've seen the glory of the Father. And this gets so easy to overlook. You see, the same light in John 14 that shone on Sinai now shines from the Son. S-O-N. And calls all of Israel and the grafted in Gentiles to reflect it also. Not to go out and be like the world. It tells us to be set apart. There's so many instances where it tells us that we are to separate ourselves. Don't learn how to do what the others do. Don't serve God the way other people serve their gods. Now we see, I was looking the other day, I've seen a movement within Hollywood to where they're bringing a religious movement. So many of the stars are talking about how their lives have changed and what they're doing. One that really disappointed me, really disappointed me, was a singer that came out, Jelly Roll, and he has some really good songs. And then you watch videos on his page, and you see videos of him that are taken by other people, and it's one curse word after another. Blasphemous talk. Is he shining the correct light? Do we hate him because of that? Pray for him. Because he is a vessel that could be used, but he's not allowing that light to shine from him. Instead, he's allowing it to be a profitable light. It's good for the pocket. It's good for the fame. And then he goes off and does and acts just like the world. And you have to gauge. That's why I said we should be careful over who we listen to, who we get our word from, even with me. If I don't line up with the Torah, then I'm incorrect. And I work hard to make sure that if I say it is found. And I'm open to correction. I might yell at you, but I'm open to correction. I know who I am. I'll just give you that right off. But having that ability to reflect to so many people. We see it so often. We see that soft face of religion, that white underbelly of religion that has cropped up among the popular ball players and stars and singers. And people get carried away by it. They go, oh, well, look at him. He's witnessing for the Father, and then he's turning around dropping foul language and talking. You know, they talk about their spouses and their wives and their husbands if they're female, or if they're, not. They're talking about their significant other, and they're bringing a bad light. They say really bad things that would have children going, oh, well, man, he's a godly person. He can still speak this way. There's something for all of us. Okay, I'm not just talking about, I am just talking about foul language, but let's put that into our everyday life for those of us who will try more than not to have that kind of language. Are you speaking defeat into your own life today? Are you allowing darkness to take over the light that should be emanating from you? That very presence of the Father that should live within you. How many times do you get up from prayer and you just have that feeling? Victory. That strength that you know you can carry on and keep moving. And you can almost see the light. And in your eyes, everything is better. Maybe for the moment. Until the adversary comes back, because he's going to come. If he went to the throne, he'll come knock on your door. He'll come touch your shoulder. He'll wander right in here. He's not afraid of us. Who's he afraid of? Amen. When the archangel, it said when the archangel was disputing with Satan, Lucifer, however you refer to him, the adversary, he did not beat him down with his might. Was not a physical battle. He said, Yahweh rebukes you. We need to be rebuking the world in our lives today. Me too. I'm not just picking on y'all. It's me too. We have to be able to allow that light to shine from us. If we're lingering in the presence of Yah, what should people see of us? And if Yeshua shine because he is that presence and he's dwelling within us, then what do we have? We have the presence of Yah living within us, and we have the life of men dwelling within us. We have that life. What else would make us want to remain in him? That we can shine and help others and not have this self-generated. We talked about the menorah could not generate its own light. Moshe did not generate his light. It was a reflection from being in the presence of Yah. We're not talking about a self-generated religious experience that we're seeing flush out through the world right now. We're talking about covenantal relationship with the Father. I do not like the word religion. It's man-made. In my terms, it can be whatever you want it to be. In my terms, it has always denoted a man-made process to worship the Father, and he said, don't do that. Hear my words, very simple instructions, and allow yourself to hear them, know them, and let them become a part of your life. How many times have we stubbed our toe and man, a bad word comes out? Anger comes out. I sure don't say thank you, Lord, for that broken toe. Yes, sir, Daniel.
There have been often times where people ask about my religion, and I just tell them I don't subscribe to a religion. And they ask me, well, how do you believe? I said, well, I believe in the Father with my heart, mind, and soul, and I follow in the footsteps of Yeshua, our Messiah. And that's kind of how I explain to them my faith.
Amen. It's a relationship. It's not an emotional enthusiasm that makes us get up in the morning. I don't get up in the morning happy. It usually takes a little bit of prayer, a little bit of coaxing. I remind myself that it's going to be a great day, and reflect on what the Father has for us, the promises He's put out there for us. And we should reflect that to others. I can't say that enough. We're not talking about, like I just said, it's not a self-generated righteous life that we need to be living. This should be generated from the one who gave us the Spirit, that emanating light, that light of men, that light of life that should be dwelling within us. Yeshua shone because He was that light. He embodied that. He embodied all the glory from the Torah, from the teachings of the prophets, from the instructions, the words of His Father, the very voice of His Father. If you've heard me, you've heard my Father. If you've seen me, you've seen my Father. He was very, 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 very precise about that. We've got to be that reflection of Him each and every day. Although it was reflected on Moshe, it radiated from Messiah. And through him, that same covenant light should be spoken over us. It is spoken over us. It should permeate our very being so that every step, every move, every action, every thought. Can you imagine how our spiritual life would line up if when something happens, instead of getting angry at somebody, we pray for them? And I'm not talking about the Southern prayer that says, bless their heart, because we know what that means. It's not really a prayer. It's a condemnation. Funny. And I get a little chuckle when I get to hear it. But today, our lives should shine like His. How are we going to be a witness to somebody who's failing in a dark and dying world? How are we going to be the ones if we're beat down, brought down, and we allow the enemy to keep us down so we cannot witness to someone else? Every week, we pronounce the Aaronic blessing upon the group, calling for His blessing, His shalom, His peace, His countenance, for Him to be face to face with us. When we do that, we should think of it as an older minister told me when I was young. He said, if you're going to pray for rain before you leave the house, grab an umbrella, believe it's going to happen. Otherwise, it's vain words. Don't let these words be vain today. If He's face to face with you, you're going to shine like He does. If He puts His peace on you today, you're going to show that in the world. And adding to that just a little bit, when we hear the words, may His face shine upon you, in our minds and in our hearts, we should be asking Him that His light, that life, that glory would reflect from us. And today, may your life, may my life, may our lives in total reflect the glory of the one who is that light. if all minds are good, I've got some of next week's. We'll save that for next week. If all minds are good, if all hearts are clear, are we prepared to go out and be the light to the world? It lives within us. If we accept it, if we call it, it says that testimony is where? Amazing that we have to say it for it to be our testimony. Do we keep it hidden? Like that light on the bushel, covered up? Light on the stand covered up under a bushel so no one could see it? Let it out. Speak it. Let someone else know that light that dwells within you because it emanates. Be a Jeremiah. Let it feel like a fire shut up in your bones that you can't shut up. You have to speak it out.